80% of people are dissatisfied with their jobs. This massive scale of unhappiness is better understood as a physical condition rather than a philosophical one. Starting in the 1980s, corporate culture shifted. Companies began treating human beings as an expendable resource, laying people off simply to balance the books for a quarter. This obsession with short-term numbers over people created a culture of chronic daily fear. You can see it in the physical control mechanisms we accept as normal. Factory workers have to punch time clocks or wait for a bell to take a break. Spare parts are kept in locked cages, requiring permission to access. These barriers send a clear daily signal. Management does not trust you. We shrug and say, it's just business, but our bodies do not know what business is. Our biology interprets these modern work environments as a literal life or death threat. Almost every system in our bodies evolved tens of thousands of years ago to help us find food and avoid predators. Today, that ancient survival machine is forced to operate in cubicles and boardrooms it was never designed for. When we sense a threat, our brain releases a chemical called cortisol. It is the stress hormone, designed to keep us alive in an emergency. But if you constantly worry that your boss doesn't like you or that a colleague will stab you in the back to get ahead, that cortisol doesn't shut off. It seeps through your veins. Drip, drip, drip. That constant flow of stress hormone forces us into a state of self-preservation. You start spending your time covering up mistakes, hoarding information, and navigating office politics just to protect yourself from the next round of layoffs. Cortisol keeps us in a state of hypervigilance, locking our attention on the person sitting at the next desk or the boss in the corner office. If every individual in a company is biologically tethered to these internal threats, no one is left looking out at the market or the competition. The collective focus shifts inward, leaving the group vulnerable to whatever is coming from the outside. To fix this, we have to look at why humans created hierarchies in the first place. Thousands of years ago, if a hunter brought back a fresh kill, everyone would rush in to eat. People would get shoved, hurt, or killed over scraps. We needed rules of order to survive, so we evolved to recognize the strongest among us. When we perceived someone as dominant, we voluntarily stepped back and let them eat first. These alphas got the best cuts of meat and the first choice of a mate. But those advantages did not come for free. The group isn't stupid. In exchange for the first choice of resources, the alpha is expected to be the first one to rush toward danger. When a threat appears, the strongest person protects the rest of the tribe. True leadership has always been a biological contract. The perks of being in charge are earned entirely through a willingness to sacrifice your own self-interest for the group's safety. The United States Marine Corps operates in extremely high-stakes environments, where getting this dynamic right is a matter of life and death, and they have a tradition that perfectly embodies this ancient contract. When Marines gather to eat, you will notice that the most junior troops are always served first, and the most senior officers are served last. No official order is ever given to make this happen. They just do it. It is a daily instinctual action that silently reinforces to the entire group that their leaders always have their backs. This practice reinforces a specific belief among the group. By eating last, these leaders demonstrate that their priority is the well-being of the team, proving that rank is a responsibility rather than a privilege. You can apply this exact biological standard to the corporate world. When CEO Bob Chapman acquired a failing manufacturing plant, he found an environment where factory workers were treated like untrustworthy cogs, forced to wait for bells to tell them when they were allowed to rest. Chapman didn't try to fix the culture with financial bonuses. Instead, he removed the daily physical barriers of distrust. He took down the chain link cages around the spare parts. He removed the time clocks and turned off the bells. When you treat people like human beings, you trigger the release of selfless chemicals in the brain, oxytocin and serotonin. These are the chemicals responsible for the feeling of deep trust, belonging, and loyalty. This diagram shows what happens when leadership successfully neutralizes internal threats. It creates what we call a circle of safety. By establishing a strong perimeter, the constant dangers from the outside are kept at bay, allowing the people inside to feel completely secure. When leaders provide that circle of safety, the flood of oxytocin causes a shift in behavior. Employees stop wasting energy protecting themselves from each other and they naturally pull together to advance the organization. We see the ultimate result of this trust in people like Captain Mike Drowley, a pilot known by his call sign, Johnny Bravo. In 2002, he flew his A-10 attack aircraft into a treacherous, pitch-black Afghan valley, weaving through mountains and thick clouds to provide covering fire for 22 pinned-down Special Operations troops. He was not ordered to execute that incredibly dangerous maneuver. He didn't receive a performance bonus for doing it, and there was no promise of a promotion waiting for him back at the base. His singular motivation was empathy. It is the biological result of operating inside a deep circle of safety, where you feel completely connected to the people on the ground. This is the core engine of all high-performing teams. Individuals will risk everything to protect the group when they know, deep down in their bones, that the group would have done the exact same thing for them. A former Undersecretary of Defense was once giving a speech, sipping coffee from a styrofoam cup. He paused and smiled, realizing that the year before, while still in office, they had served him coffee in a beautiful ceramic cup. He realized that the ceramic cup was never meant for him at all. It was meant for the position he held. The corner offices, the first-class seats, and the executive perks are given to the rank. The person themselves only ever deserves a styrofoam cup. Most of us will never be asked to fly an A-10 into combat to save our colleagues. True leadership in our daily lives is much quieter. It is the daily practice of extending trust, telling the truth, and prioritizing human lives over abstract numbers. Leadership is simply about taking care of those in your charge, and because of that, you don't need a title to do it. It is up to every single one of us to be the leaders we wish we had.